The study method that feels the best is almost worthless, and you have been trusting it your whole life. In one experiment, one group of students remembered about 80% of what they learned a week later. Another group, studying the exact same material, remembered around 36%. Same students, same information, same amount of time, and the gap was more than double. Here is the part that should scare you. Your brain is running a scam on you, and you fall for it every single time. Think about the last time you actually tried to learn something. You opened the book, you read the chapter, and then you read it again. Maybe you pulled out a highlighter and painted half the page yellow. It felt good, didn't it? Each pass made the words smoother, more familiar, easier to follow. And that smooth feeling convinced you that the knowledge was sinking in. That is the trap, and it has a name. Psychologists call it the illusion of competence. It is the gap between how well you think you know something and how well you actually know it. Rereading feels like progress because the material stops surprising you. Highlighting feels like work because your hand is moving and the page is filling with color. But familiarity is not the same thing as knowledge. Recognizing an answer when you see it is not the same as producing it when you need it. You have felt this before, in the exam room, staring at a question you swore you understood last night. The information was familiar, but you could not pull it out, and now you are going to learn why. Let me show you the science, because two researchers proved all of this in a lab. Their names are Henry Roediger and Jeffrey Karpicke. In 2006, they published a study on something called the testing effect. The idea is simple, but it goes against everything you were taught. Pulling information out of your memory beats putting it back in by rereading. In their study, students who were tested on material outperformed students who just restudied it. Not on the same day, but on a delayed test days later when it actually counted. And here is the twist that matters most. The students who reread felt more confident. They felt like they knew more, but feeling was not the same as performing, and the tested group won. And on a test taken minutes after studying, the rereaders often looked just as sharp, which is exactly why nobody abandons the method. Then, in 2008, they ran the study that should change how you learn forever. It was published in the journal Science, and the setup was brutally clean. Students learned pairs of Swahili and English words, memorizing what each one meant. One group kept practicing retrieval, quizzing themselves on the pairs even after getting them right. Another group dropped each pair the moment they got it once, and only restudied the rest. Both groups spent the same total time with the material, so none of this came down to one side simply working longer. The only thing that changed was whether a student kept forcing the answer out or kept feeding it back in. A week later, everyone came back for the real test. The group that kept testing themselves recalled about 80% of the words. The group that stopped testing and only reread recalled roughly 33 to 36%. Same words, same week, same brains, and the retrieval group more than doubled them. That is not a small edge. That is the difference between passing and failing. So why does the weaker method feel like the stronger one? It comes down to something researchers call fluency. When you read a sentence for the second or third time, your brain processes it faster. That speed feels like understanding, but it is really just recognition. Your mind mistakes easy for learned and smooth for stored. This is the illusion of fluency, and it is the engine behind the illusion of competence. The easier the information is to process in the moment, the more you assume you have mastered it. But the moment of studying is not the moment that matters. The cruelest part is the timing. The good feeling shows up while you study, and the bill never arrives until the test. What matters is later, when the book is closed and the answer has to come from inside you. Rereading trains your brain to recognize, not to retrieve, and recognition collapses the second the multiple choice options disappear. Think of it like watching someone lift weights at the gym. You can watch perfect form all day and understand every single rep, but watching builds nothing because your muscles never did the work. Rereading is watching, and retrieval is lifting. One feels hard and builds strength. The other feels easy and builds nothing. There is a researcher named Robert Bjork who gave this its perfect name. He calls it desirable difficulty. The idea is that certain kinds of struggle actually improve learning, When something is harder to study, it is often easier to remember later. When something is easier to study, it is often harder to remember later. That is the paradox your comfort-loving brain refuses to accept. The struggle to pull an answer out of your head is the exact moment learning gets locked in. Every time you retrieve a fact, you strengthen the path back to it. And a path you have walked in the dark is a path you can find, again, under pressure. So the first desirable difficulty is retrieval, which is just plain self-testing. Close the book and force yourself to answer before you ever check. The second one is spacing, spreading your practice out over days instead of cramming. When you let yourself partly forget and then fight to recall, the memory comes back stronger. Cramming feels productive because you never leave the comfort of the open book. But spaced retrieval feels harder precisely because it is working. Now, here is the most damning part of all this research. When students were surveyed and asked how they preferred to study, they overwhelmingly chose rereading. Almost none of them chose to test themselves. Given a free choice, most people instinctively pick the single weakest method available. Your instincts are not guiding you toward learning. They are guiding you toward comfort. So let me tell you exactly what to do, because knowing this changes nothing unless you act on it. Stop rereading and stop highlighting like it is an accomplishment. After you read something once, close it and write down everything you can remember. Tonight, read a single page, shut the book, and say its main point out loud before you let yourself peek. It will feel uncomfortable, and you will realize how little you actually retained. Good, because that discomfort is the sound of real learning starting. Turn your notes into questions instead of summaries, and answer them from memory. Use flashcards, but only if you make yourself struggle to recall before you flip them. Space your reviews out, hit the material tomorrow, then in 3 days, then again next week. So quiz that same page tomorrow morning, and when you draw a blank, treat that blank as the exact crack you now get to repair. Let yourself forget a little, because fighting your way back is the entire point. And when a study session feels easy and smooth, treat that as a warning, not a reward, because here is the reframe that ties all of this together. The method that feels good is lying to you. Comfort is not progress, and easy is not the same as effective. Every time you choose the smoother path, you are choosing to feel good now and fail later. Discipline is not about grinding more hours. It is about choosing the harder method on purpose. Nobody stumbles into mastery by luck. You earn it by choosing the version of studying that stings, again and again. The people who win are not smarter than you. They are just willing to sit in the difficulty you keep running from. So stop confusing familiarity with knowledge, and stop letting a good feeling decide what you learn. Your brain will always vote for comfort, and your job is to overrule it every time. Test yourself when it is hard. Space it out when you would rather cram, and struggle on purpose. That struggle is not the obstacle in your way. It is the entire path forward. The gap between 80% and 36% was never about talent. It was about method. And the method is a choice you get to make every single time you sit down. If this hit you where it needed to, subscribe, because everything on this channel is built to make you harder to beat. Now close the book and go prove to yourself that you actually learned this.